Again, he wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini, the Italian leader, in 1871 concerning how the world would be taken over by a Luciferian, satanic New World Order. How about that? Okay? The plan was to initiate 3 world wars. Again, you can Google this. Google Albert Pike, okay, the Freemason, Scottish Rite Freemason, and you can read about his letter that he sent to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871. And they had this in the British Museum up until the 1970s, late 1970s, but then all of a sudden it disappeared because now they don't want everybody to find out that they're the ones planning this third world war. But we're finding out anyway. The Heavenly Father's going to bring out the truth anyway, right? The plan was to initiate 3 world wars. The First World War, okay, from 1914 to 1918, was brought about to promote or to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the powers of the czars in Russia and turning Russia into atheist communism. How about that? It was the Illuminati that brought communism to Russia. And they destroyed Tsarist Russia, right? And turned Russia into atheist communism. They did that. So is Russia, the current state of the Russian society under Putin today in 2026, is Russia part of this Illuminati plan? Yes, they are. Even though they appear to be enemies to America, no, they are part of it. They are part of the plan. Remember, their whole thing is order out of chaos. Read the book Circle of Intrigue. They're order out of chaos. And so they play both sides. They play the enemy and they play the good side. Okay? They can play the so-called righteous side and they play the negative side. They play the negative and they play the right side. They play right and left. Okay, so as we continue, the start of this world war will be caused by agents of the Illuminati to stir up differences between the British and German empires. Okay, World War I went from 1914 to 1918. That was the letter. This is the First World War. This is part of the letter that Albert Pike sent to Giuseppe Mazzini during the 1870s. And they planned World War I. But again, you do not read this plan in the Bible. You don't read World War I in the Bible. World War II, from 1939 to 1945, would start by taking advantage of the political differences between fascism and Zionism. The war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and political Zionism will be strong enough to initiate a sovereign state in Palestine. Didn't that happen? Didn't it happen? This is why they brought forth Hitler. This is why we realize that the so-called Jews in Israel today are Ashkenazi. They are not the real Jews. It was all staged. First of all, Hitler, there's no way you could kill, 6 million people in as many years as he ruled. He ruled, about 10 years? You can't kill it. That's a lot of people. You can't kill that many people. So what you would do is get the Red Cross reports during during World War II and during Nazi Germany of how many so-called Jews that Hitler killed. And you will find out it's only about 200,000, maybe 300,000, maybe 250,000 people. That's it. And you go and get the Red Cross reports, and they'll tell you, and then you'll read about it. It was nowhere even near. It wasn't even 1 million people. Nowhere even near 6 million people. Okay, Con? And so you say, well, what really happened in World War II, and you say, well, that's in the Bible? No, that's not in the Bible. Okay? We're going to read to you concerning how they used World War II to bring in political Zionism and to bring in all the so-called Jews during that time and to destabilize the region and to basically rob it and take it over from the Palestinians, so-called Arabs. They're not even true Arabs. Palestine is not even their land. But again, they took it over from them. But it's not their land, neither is it the so-called Jews' land. It belongs to the true Hebrew Israelites. That's who it belongs to, right? So now we're going to read about the Balfour Declaration so you can understand how they went about this. And the Balfour Declaration was way before the 1948 UN mandate to bring in political Zionism in Israel. It says Balfour Declaration, November 2nd, 1917. This statement of British support for the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. It was made in a letter from Arthur James Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary, to Lionel Walter Rothschild, second Baron Rothschild, a leader of the Anglo-Jewish community. This led the formation of what is called the British Mandate. The British Mandate. The British Mandate of Palestine was a League of Nations mandate to the United Kingdom in Palestine. It began after the British had conquered Palestine from the Ottoman Empire in World War I. At the San Remo, Italy conference on April 25th, 1920, the mandate of Palestine was granted to Britain. The mandate became officially operative on September 29th, 1923. The mandate ended when the British returned to the United Nations on May 15th, 1948. The UN General Assembly adopted the resolution to partition Palestine on November 29th, 1947. Britain announced the termination of its mandate over Palestine to take effect on May 15th, 1948. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was proclaimed. This is how the political Zionists, the so-called Jew, got into Palestine over the British mandate, which came out of the Balfour Declaration of 1917. So all this, you can Google it and check it out for yourself. So they created that World War II, the Illuminati, so that they could bring in political Zionism. And they used Hitler, and they staged Hitler over there to cause massive killings. And Hitler knew that that the blacks were the real Jews, that the so-called Negro are the real Jews. He stated it many times, that we are the jewels of the Most High. And once the people of America find out they got the jewels of the Most High, they're going to realize what they have been doing to the chosen people of the Most High in these last days. Hitler knew it. That's why he used the symbol, the Schwarze, and Schwarze in German means black. He's telling the so-called Jews, the real Jews are black. You're not the real Jews. So he destroyed thousands of them and put them in human ovens, giant ovens, and burnt them to death. But again, it was all staged by this British mandate so they can create world sympathy for the so-called Jews so they can take over Palestine. They're Edomites. They're Ashkenazis. from the Caucasus region of South Georgia, Russia. They're not the real Jews. And so this is why everything is in an uproar concerning Israel now, because people are waking up, finding out that they're not the real Jews. Okay, so you can find all this out, and I wrote about it again in this book that you can get off Amazon and off the TikTok shop. Okay, and it's all broken down in the book. Again, that is World War II. Now, leading up to now World War III. Now, according to the Giuseppe Pike plan, World War III is coming. It hasn't come yet, but we're leading up to it. It says Third World War will start by the cause of the differences. Will start as the cause of the differences between political Zionism and the Islamic world. Okay? Political Zionism